Welcome to This Explainer. Today we are unpacking something truly fascinating from our source text. We're going to explore the profound spiritual, psychological, and practical meanings behind one of the most prominent divine names in Islamic theology, and that is Al Wakeel. Now, whether you're already deeply familiar with this tradition, or maybe you're just approaching this from a philosophical or historical standpoint, the way this single word bridges absolute cosmic power with deeply personal human psychology is, well, it's going to give you a whole lot to think about. So, let's dive right in.
All right, here's a super quick look at our roadmap today. We're going to cover the meaning of Al Wakeel, look at the Quranic evidence, explore the linguistic root of reliance, recount Prophet Ibrahim's ultimate test, and then wrap up with some daily practical applications.
Starting off with Section 1, the meaning of Al Wakeel. You know, when we talk about ancient theological concepts, exact definitions matter immensely. So what does it actually mean to call upon the Creator as Al Wakeel?
Our source text provides this really fascinating dual definition for Al Wakeel. It says, "He who manages the affairs of his creation and takes charge of those who rely on him." I really want you to notice the two distinct parts here. The first half, managing the affairs of creation, well, that's universal. It implies this majestic, macro-level administration of the entire cosmos. But that second half, that is highly personal, taking charge of those who rely on him. It literally means that when a person actively places their trust in Al Wakeel, they trigger a specific, incredibly intimate level of divine guardianship. It's kind of like the difference between a king who broadly rules a country versus a king who sits down and personally handles your specific individual problems.
Okay, moving on to Section 2. Let's see how deeply this concept is woven into the foundational text itself.
According to the analysis in our source, the name Al Wakeel isn't just some obscure one-off reference. It actually appears in the Quran in 14 different places. One of the primary pieces of evidence is found in Surah Az-Zumar. The text highlights how this verse establishes Allah as the ultimate creator of all things and subsequently the ultimate disposer of affairs over all those things. You really can't have one without the other. Because he created it, he is inherently the only one fully equipped to manage it.
The text also points us over to Surah Al-An'am, and this brilliantly illustrates the expansion of the whole concept. The verse emphasizes that Al Wakeel is the ultimate guardian, owner, and manager of all existence. It directly connects his singular divinity to his role as the ultimate manager. The theological argument happening here is incredibly tight. Think about it. If there is only one creator, it's just completely illogical to rely on anything created for your ultimate needs. The creator is the one holding the reins.
Which brings us to Section 3, the linguistic root of tawakkul. Honestly, guys, this is where the text gets incredibly fascinating from a human psychology standpoint. We're going to look at the linguistic root of reliance itself.
So, the Arabic root word for reliance is wakala. Our source points out that, linguistically speaking, this word inherently describes a relationship between two very specific parties. You have a weak, needy party and a strong, rich party. On one side, you've got the human being, right? Fundamentally unable to secure all their needs or completely repel harm on their own. On the other side, you have the strong and rich party, the one who possesses absolute independent power to execute their will. The absolute crucial takeaway here is that true reliance requires recognizing this immense gap. When a human relies entirely on another human, it's literally just one weak party leaning on another weak party. True wakala can only genuinely exist between the vulnerable human and the omnipotent divine.
And because of that stark contrast, the source states something incredibly powerful. It says tawakkul is the sum of faith and the honor of monotheists. Now, why use the word honor? Because true reliance actually frees you. It means you aren't humiliating yourself by begging or completely depending on another weak, flawed creation. By placing your ultimate reliance on the absolute richness and power of Al Wakeel, you are elevated. You maintain your dignity. It is just a profoundly liberating framework for viewing your place in the world.
All right, let's jump to Section 4 and see what this looks like when pushed to the absolute extreme with a stunning historical example. The source brings up the narrative of Prophet Ibrahim, also known as Abraham. I want you to imagine the ultimate crisis. He is entirely surrounded by enemies, stripped of every single worldly resource, and physically cast into a massive, raging fire. This is the absolute peak of human helplessness. There's no physical means of escape. There's no human army coming over the hill to save him. It is quite literally just him, gravity, and the flames.
In that exact moment of freefall, the text highlights the specific phrase he uttered. He didn't panic. He didn't start begging his enemies. He said, "Hasbunallah
wa ni'mal wakeel, meaning, sufficient for us is Allah, and He is the best disposer of affairs. Right in the face of certain destruction, He completely stripped away any illusion of His own physical power and delegated His entire existence entirely to Al Wakeel. This is the absolute purest manifestation of that weak party completely trusting the absolutely strong party.
And what does the text say the result of this pure, special reliance was? A literal miracle. Al Wakeel, the one who manages the very physics of creation, simply suspended the laws of nature. The fire was commanded to be cool and peaceful, bardan wa salama. The lesson here is just monumental. Al Wakeel holds the keys to the universe. When a servant reaches that level of true, unshakable reliance, the disposer of affairs can literally alter reality to protect them.
So that's an epic, historical example. But it brings us to our final section, worship and daily practice. How do we actually use this today?
How do we apply this massive theological concept to our modern daily lives, where our fires are usually more metaphorical, like financial stress, health issues, or career anxieties? Well, the source material lays out a very structured 4-step approach. Step 1 is the internal decision. You must consciously delegate your ultimate affairs to Him solely. Step 2 sets the boundary. Do not associate others in your ultimate reliance. It's totally fine to ask people for help, but your heart shouldn't believe they are your ultimate saviors. Step 3, which is absolutely crucial, take the worldly means. We are going to expand on this in just a second. And Step 4, logically assure yourself that you are only relying on the one who is truly capable of the final outcome.
Now, I really want to focus deeply on Step 3 because this brilliantly clears up a super common misunderstanding. The principle is this: take worldly means, but trust in the causer of those means. True reliance is definitely not sitting on your couch and just expecting a miracle to happen. Relying on God absolutely does not mean inaction. The text is incredibly clear about this. You must study for the test, you must go to the doctor, you have to put in the hard work at your job. You take the physical, practical steps in your life. But, and here is the secret, your heart does not rely on your studying, or the doctor, or your boss. Your body works the means, while your heart relies entirely on Al Wakeel, the creator of those means. And that leaves us with a profoundly practical framework for reducing anxiety in our crazy modern lives. It asks us to give 100% of our physical effort and then immediately let go of all that mental stress regarding the outcome. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. In your daily challenges, are you truly taking the necessary physical action while leaving the ultimate outcome to the disposer of affairs? Or are you exhausting yourself trying to control things that are fundamentally out of your hands? It's a powerful framework to carry with you. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer today. Keep questioning and keep learning.